Here we go. Welcome to Subway Sports Talk.
Dan, clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, here we go. Say it ain't Soto. Juan Soto is a New York Met. Shout out to Drew's wife for that lovely line on the come up. Juan Soto, 15 years, $765 million. And Juan Soto leaves the New York Yankees and joins the New York Mets. We're live on Twitter at Subway Sports Talk. You could also listen to this on your podcast app, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube tomorrow. But if you're here with us on Twitter live right now, what's up? We can't believe that it's finally here. Months and months, what feels like years of talking about Juan Soto and where he may go, where he may not go, what he wants, what he doesn't want. By the end of the day, Uncle Steve had the checkbook. He left it blank. The offer was made, and the deal is done. Joined here to talk to us all about this massive signing, a superstar from one borough in New York City to another, is Andrew Calagna. Drew, first and foremost, what happened? How did we get here? Juan Soto's a New York Met. What is the first reaction that you had when the Jeff Passan tweet, the real tweet, not some BS report, which we'll get into over the course of the next handful of minutes and maybe who knows how long. But what was the first reaction for you when the official report was finally official?
Still honestly can't believe it. This would be the time in the podcast where I would make a joyful comment to bring up something else to steer it. I'm really at a loss for words right now because honestly, in my heart of hearts, I thought that if the I always knew that Steve Cohen was going to outbid the Yankees. That was always a fact in these negotiations. But I honestly thought in my heart of hearts that the Yankees offer was close. He would not leave. He was there for a year. He had a great rapport with Judge. The fans loved him. He was clutch in the postseason. He great teammate, all that. And it was, and now, yeah.
That's it. No, it's out of control, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of this stuff. And the first things that come to mind are twofold. One is that he's a New York Met, and this thing that we've been sold as Mets fans, and I brought out the Mets hat tonight too, right? I brought it out because I'm usually trying to be objective. I'm trying to be real. I'm trying to whatever. But this is a legitimate moment here for Mets fans. So all the things we've been sold from Steve Cohen, from Uncle Steve, since he's joined the club, since he bought the club, not joined the club, since he took over, has been that this is going to be different. He is going to go out and make things happen. He's going to offer the big contracts. He's going to go big game hunting. He's going to do all these things. And we saw tidbits of it. We saw kind of faded efforts of, is that actually what we're talking about? Are we talking about signing Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander? Or are we talking about signing a Juan Soto, right? So you get stuck over the first couple of years where, yes, the team did have varying degrees of success, but you were waiting and waiting and waiting for that real big fish to fall or to land or to be caught, whatever you want to say. And now we're here. That's number one. First thing, after just 5 years of Steve Cohen being here, running the New York Mets, it feels like a long time, but in the world of running a team and how long owners typically run a team, this is the first chapter of his story. And right here is where you start the new chapter of Steve Cohen's New York Mets. The second thing that comes to mind, Andrew, when all my friends are texting, all the group chats are popping off, Twitter's going out of control, is Yankee fans are now not just dealing with losing Juan Soto. They're seeing the Mets, the little brother, quote unquote, take their guy who, you know, you did an article on our Substack. Shout out to our Substack. You can find it at Subway Sports Talk Substack of the Mets took the Yankees guy and did what the Yankees are supposed to do. And the mental gymnastics that have been going on for Yankee fans, you know, since the offseason started, some of them wanting him badly, some of them talking themselves out of him, and all these moving parts now. And some Yankee fans are tipping their cap and saying, hey, He went for the bigger money. He took it. He's yours now. Whatever. This sucks for us. It is what it is. And then other Yankee fans saying, well, I can't wait for the Mets to Met. Now the Mets are going to get Juan Soto. It's going to be like the Jets. They're going to get hurt. He's going to this. It's going to go wrong. You're still the Mets. And that's the sentiments that are going around right now. And you can't obviously say what's going to be real until this plays out over the next 15 years. But the fact of the matter is Steve Cohen went out and did the thing he said he was going to do. And he not just stole a superstar from anybody in the league, but from the New York Yankees, the crosstown rival.
It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. And it's the biggest signing in Mets history. It's easy, by far the biggest move in franchise history, franchise defining move right here. 15 years. Will the sun still be shining in 15 years? Who knows? That's I'm good on Juan Soto for believing in the future of not only this country but the world in general. So good on him. It's when Robinson Cano left the Yankees in literally about a decade ago. Any day now. It was a homegrown Yankee superstar. How is that possible? How is he allowed to leave? Robinson Cano turned into what he turned into. But at the time, it was absolutely unheard of. And what the Yankees did is they went out and they spent it on a whole bunch of 30-something-year-old players, and they weren't very good for a while. They were competitive, but never a true superstar contender, which with Juan Soto, they definitely would be. This is absolutely unheard of for the Yankees, for the Mets, for just baseball in general. And as a Yankees fan, I'm not, if you want to be mad or if you want to say the Mets are going to go Mets and stay cope with however you're going to cope, just you do what you got. You do what you got to do at this point. But the reality is the pinstripe, the allure, or whatever you think the Yankees are as a franchise. Whatever light that you got from the 90s team and the dynasty years, it's done. It's over. It's officially, it's fucking over. It's kaput. I don't hear shit. I don't hear anybody, no Yankee fan saying count the rings, 27 rings. That shit is over, dog. That shit is over. Absolutely over.
And that's obviously we're touching more right now on number 2 of my first initial thoughts here of being Steve Cohen's doing the thing that he said he was going to do. Number 2 being this Mets-Yankees thing that is so real for us, right? Right here in New York, it was real for us. And when the Dodgers get brought up, the Red Sox get brought up, the Phillies, the Rays, for whatever the freaking reason was, I don't even know. Any team, the Blue Jays, that was aligned with the Juan Soto interest, it was always here in the tri-state area. It was going to be the Yankees. It was going to be the Mets. Everything else would have frankly been a massive disappointment to me because I wanted him on the Mets. And if he didn't go back to the Mets, I would have preferred him to stay in the Yankees because you want to watch this guy play baseball. And I'm not watching the Blue Jays. I ain't watching the Dodgers as much as I'm watching the Mets and the Yankees. So we're blessed to have him here. But this rivalry that is brewing and has always been there as a seedling is becoming a full-blown tree. But to your point, Drew, it is official. Well, not official, but it is an actual real thing to assess and to say is that the big bad Yankees, which we have been inching at and talking about not being the same over the last 10 years, is not the same. The sentiment has been said by so many Yankee fans before is that when there's someone out there who they want, they go and get them. So there's 2 things here. It's either not true anymore and they don't have the gumption, they don't have the pockets to go out and get whoever the hell they want anymore, or 2, he didn't want you back. And I think that's a hard thing to understand for Yankee fans, because if Juan Soto, if all things were equal, we always heard all these reports, which were mostly BS, which we will get into in a little bit here, he was going to go where the money was. Well, call me crazy. If the Yankees offered $760 for 16 years, which is the report that John Heyman just put out there, that's what the Yankees offer. That's what Hal Steinbrenner came out with. You're telling me he can't find a few extra million to drop it down to 15 and match what the Mets offered? To me, that is a saving grace effort. Trying to say, hey, we still offered our 750 plus million. We did our job. We offered it. That's baloney to me, Drew. That means that he wanted the New York Mets. He wanted it. Because if you're telling me that Boris and Soto couldn't get the Yankees to come down 1 year for a few more million per year to match and go back to the Yankees, to go back to the Bronx, that makes no sense to me. This means Soto wanted the Mets as much as the Mets wanted Soto. And of course, the money helps. And if Steve Cohen was the first one to say, here it is, I want you to have this because you deserve this, you're going to be the superstar in Queens for the next 15 years, then God damn it, Uncle Steve did what he said he was going to do.
And this is just par for the course for Hal Steinbrenner. We tried, we had serious interest, and it was a staring contest, and he always blinks first because it's about the money for Hal Steinbrenner. Someone who hasn't worked a day in his fucking life, born into billions of dollars, and he always just draws a line of, it's always the famous line he always said, I don't need a $200 million payroll to win a World Series. I don't need and he said, during the season this year, I don't need this $300 million payroll is unsustainable for the New York Yankees. Somehow the team with the most revenue in all of sports cannot sustain a $300+ million payroll, but the Mets can, the Dodgers can. Make that math, Pete. Make that math, because it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. This is again. This is part. Maybe Juan Soto did want to be a Met. I do believe that, but it also comes down to Hal Steinbrenner never doing what he's supposed to do as an owner. And the Yankees always have it. And they say, Andrew, the Yankees always have a top 5 payroll. But also, if you want to talk about payroll numbers and revenue, and again, Yankees number 1 in revenue, top 5 in payroll, but bottom third of the league when it comes to percentage of the revenue that they get that goes back into the payroll. And where does it go? I don't know. They don't open up the books. They don't, goes to Hal Steiner's yacht and hooker party. I don't know what he does. That's his business. And clearly,
Drew, if I'm going to jump in,
is more important than putting the best team forward, and that's what he sells. That's what the Yankees sell to everyone. We are the best organization, most championships, the brightest stars, the allure of the pinstripes. Bullshit, all bullshit.
And Drew, I know you referenced this in the article we wrote, I shouldn't say we wrote, you wrote the other day here. There was a graphic that's been going around recently about 2023 revenue versus 2024 payroll. And the point of it was about the percentage of revenue that is going to payroll, right? And obviously this stuff's not all one-to-one. There's a lot of people who need to be paid in an organization. There's a lot of moving parts and things that need to be purchased. So we know it's not going to be like, oh, you made $400 million. Here's your $400 million payroll. We know that's not the case. That's not how it works. However, there are some teams who are proving that they're willing to put more money into the team, into the payroll based upon what they earn. So everyone talks about the Tampa Bay Rays being this team. Oh, the poor Tampa Bay Rays. They got no money to spend on players. They don't pay anybody. They have this amazing farm system with talent out the ass every single year, but they can't pay them. So the poor Rays lose everybody. Well, guess what? The Rays are last in the MLB this year in percentage of revenue put towards payroll. They had $300 million in revenue, Drew, and they only spent $100 million on their payroll. $300 million, let me break it down for you, is not last in the league in revenue, right? It's actually not that much further off from a lot of the teams who are spending 200 plus, 250 plus million in payroll, right? Well, where do the Yankees land in all of this? In this graphic, you find the Yankees. You're going to think, oh, they got this big payroll. They must be in the top 5, the top 10. No, Yankees were 18th in this number, $679 million in revenue, and then 316 in payroll. So if you just look at payroll, Drew, which is what you're pointing out, it looks like the Yankees are doing their job. They're spending their money. But no, only a 46% margin, what they're actually using from that revenue into payroll. It ranks them 18th. the Cubs, the Twins, the Angels, the Royals, the Rockies are putting a higher percentage of their revenue back into their payroll. The Mets are number one. And everyone wants to say, oh, well, Steve Cohen's got an endless amount of money. Who cares? Well, guess what? He is taking the revenue the team's making and putting it back into the team. You can't argue it. If you're a Yankee fan trying to defend Hal for being, a smart owner and Cashman for being this sharp GM who doesn't lose on deals and, doesn't lose a trade, that is bullshit when it comes to the New York Yankees and who you're supposed to be. It's been the worst kept secret in baseball, Drew, for years now. The Los Angeles Dodgers are the Yankees. The Yankees are not the Yankees anymore. If you want to see a team that spends like they should, goes out for marquee talent at any opportunity they can, it's the Dodgers. The Yankees are not the Yankees. The Dodgers are. And maybe the Mets are now becoming that too.
Yeah. And just add Juan Soto to the laundry list of superstars that were just available for money that the Yankees just passed on. You have Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, Corey Seager, Carlos Correa, Trey Turner, all those guys in the last 4 years, all available just for money. Perfect fits for the Yankees. Yankees were too left-handed or too right-handed. Bryce Harper was available, begging to come to the Yankees. They said, nah, good, man. Manny Machado, hole at third base. Well, we can't sign Manny Machado. Can't do that. Corey Seager, left-handed bat, power hitting shortstop. Yankees were running Isaiah Kiner for left out there. Said, no, we gotta wait for Anthony fucking Volpe to develop, and we're still gonna have a hole at third base. It's not like you can slide Correa over or Seager over at third base when Volpe was ready. That just makes too much sense. And again, now Juan Soto, who the Yankees gave up a legitimate Cy Young vote getter in Michael King, and
people forget,
and a ton of pitching depth, and took that gamble on to get Juan Soto here and say, hey, we can sell him on the Yankees, we can sell him on the Pinstripes and the allure in New York City and all that stuff, and nothing. Now you lost pitching depth. Now you lost an pitcher with an 8-side upside for 2 years and Michael King, and now you still have to go out and find a right fielder or a center fielder, because I assume now Aaron Judge's days in center field are now over. They'll go out and Judge will stay in right field, which again is better on paper because Aaron Judge, was not a great defensive center fielder this year, but it doesn't matter. He could have moved to first base. Bryce Harper moved to first base. Giancarlo Stanton's off the books in 2 years. You could have made him a DH, or Soto, who eventually will probably end up being a DH, but still, what are we even doing here? What are they even fucking doing here?
Well, you're hearing the emotions on the sleeves of both of us here. And frankly, it's funny that my emotions are coming out being almost as frustrated with the Yankees as you are. And I don't give a damn about what the Yankees are doing. Because guess what? I've heard it for so long that they're the ones. They're the gold standard. They're the model everyone wants to be, whatever. You dream to be a team like that. Now, the team that I root for is trying to do those things and seemingly doing it right, making other decisions to put this team in the best scenario. But it's important to note, Drew, right? I'm going to bring this back for a second. For anyone who's joining in on Twitter as well, shout out to everybody listening there. If you're just getting in here, obviously we're talking about Juan Soto being a Met. And this is not just about the Mets now. It's about the Yankees. It's about the Mets. It's about the whole New York baseball scene. So this is a full-fledged thing here, right? But Yankee fans are upset. They're hurt. However, we have seen this before in baseball with Bryce Harper and a Juan Soto team in Washington, where Bryce Harper, this big bad free agent, the marquee talent that you could possibly get, the Nationals don't retain him and go out there and win a World Series, right? So it's not like the Yankees are dead in the water, but they have a lot more to do now. So, Drew, I want to ask you this question here. Yankee fans have been playing some mental gymnastics since the offseason started, and some people have been saying, hey, we don't even need Juan Soto. We don't want Juan Soto. He's not a good defensive right fielder. He can't run the bases. I thought that was them doing emotional hedging. Whatever. I wanted Juan Soto. We got him. Shout out us. However, the Yankees do have a path to success here. That path just has some bumps. It has a few more turns, and it has a lot of things that need to be done to get there, right? But just because they don't have Juan Soto doesn't mean they can't win the AL East next year. Doesn't mean they can't compete next year. And I know you're chomping at the bit right now, but the idea that people were talking about, and me working on the Fan overnight shows over the past couple of weeks, it's like, oh, we can just go out there, get Santander, Bregman, this guy, that guy, and that guy. We'll be fine. Not realistic, right? Like, we know that now. Willie Adames already
Really
gone.
not realistic. Clearly, Hal Steinbrenner is not willing to stretch payroll limits. So get ready for, I don't know, who's the Seeds free agent. Maybe Aaron Hicks is still available. He'll come play right field for the Yankees again next year.
Hey, talk about a guy who knows how to play the outfield, all right? Let's bring Aaron Hicks back here. I like the cut of that guy's jib. Anyways, so for the Mets and Yankees, it seems like obviously this offseason is not done. The Mets made their big piece, but we don't think they're going to be done. We don't know what that means. We know Pete Alonso is still out there, Drew. So with the Yankees now, and we'll get back into the Mets in a little bit, with the Yankees right here, right now, what's next? What happens? What's the path to success? Once you cry yourself to sleep tonight and wake up and realize Juan Soto's across town, what do you want the Yankees to do? What is the realistic thing to put them back at least where they were just a year ago when Juan Soto was a Yankee?
There's no bat currently available via free agency that there's like there's Juan Soto's up here. There's a Grand Canyon sized gap of talent, and then the next best hitter, who's Pete Alonso, Anthony Santander. Those are good complementary guys. Those are not cornerstone guys. So if you want to say we're going to go out and get 3 good but not great complementary bats into the lineup and try to make up for Juan Soto, like, best of luck to you. And it, we clearly in the last 2 months is shown we live in the dumbest timeline possible. So Juan Soto will be a Met. Pete Alonso will probably be a New York Yankee. So that's probably what's going to happen. They'll go out and make a reactionary move and go out and sign Pete Alonso in the next day or two to some a ridiculous contract that will go south quickly. Because Pete Alonso is a great hitter, great Met. I'm a big fan of Pete. I know you're a big fan of Pete too, but when you're going to go out and sign Pete Alonso like $220 million or whatever it is, that contract's not going to be great in like year 4. So it is what it is at this point. So you kind of just have to, you have 3 or 4 years left of Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole being legitimate, top players in baseball. And, Juan Soto was the plan A to, keep that window open. But now that window is clearly shutting, is going to slam shut in not too far of a distant future. So, I think you have to take a bunch of short-term contracts, and kind of go for it in the next couple of years, and go from there.
Now, do you think there was any validity to the Yankee fans who were a little bit out on this, right? Like, because as much as I'm trying to poke fun right now, because I thought, again, it was mental gymnastics, is there any validity to this idea that the multitude of mediocre to good talent that you can bring in, 4 pieces versus 1, is there any validity to that idea of those pieces that they can bring in outweighing the production of who was so clearly a top 3 hitter in baseball last year, and so clearly a huge reason why the Yankees offense, even when it felt bad, was a top 3 offense in baseball last year?
No, it's not, because for many reasons. Again, Juan Soto took that. I'll just bring back to that bat that sent them to the World Series. Juan Soto literally went up to the plate and said, "I am not going to be denied. I'm going to literally win this baseball game right now." You saw the look in his eyes when he was facing the Cleveland pitcher, and he said, "It was a Class A that he hit the home run of. I can't remember, but." He literally looked at him and said, "I'm not losing this baseball game today." And there's not another player like that in baseball. There's just not. If you're going to go sign Anthony Santander, who just had a career year, 1 year, and he's 33 years old, like, okay, great. You think that's reasonable production going to go for? You don't think he's just going to fall off a fucking cliff the second he signs? Their plan B was Willie Adames. Now he's a San Francisco Giant. So what do you do now? What do you do now? Brian Cashman's not smart enough to make a big trade, and uh, Brian Cashman is that's a whole other thing. And B, their farm system sucks. They're
Yeah.
outside of Jason Dominguez, who you absolutely need now to take a huge step forward and be your center fielder, your left fielder going forward. You don't have any other prospects to really deal to go get a Garrett Crochet. Like, everyone in their farm system had a down year last year. There's nobody in the outside of Dominguez. You want to take a gamble on Spencer Jones, who struck out like almost 40% of the time in repeating double A. Like, the guy's dropping off of top 100 prospect list. He's not a main guy. He's not Aaron Judge, the second coming. Like, the Yankees don't have the prospects to go out and make a trade. So you're going to have to go sign and overpay for seed talent and hope for the best. And it's not going to work out. It's just not. It's you can say you have enough guys and try to make a longer lineup of
But
just
they
good
don't.
guys, but it's just
but they don't, right? Like, at the end of the day, the big complaint about the Yankees over the past 2 seasons was it was Judge or bust, and then last year was Judge or Soto or bust. And when Stanton was healthy, that offense was a ton better, like a ton better, right? And it showed itself out in the playoffs even more so. When Stanton was healthy, there was a complete offense nearly, right? And obviously the Wells come up was really strong too. But to think you're going to go out there and find these pieces is just a lofty expectation. And all the people out there, hey, we don't even want them. You're going to feel it.
lie. It's a
You're
lie.
going to,
lie. Straight up
and
lie.
that's fine. Even if they're not lying and they're just delusional, you're going to feel it really rough this year. And the big problem with the Yankees as well has been this hugging of prospects without letting prospects flourish, right? Back to your favorite Clint Frazier, the guys of that nature who have all this promise. They're top 100, they're top this, they're top that. They don't make it up, or when they get up, they're up and down so quick that they're an afterthought in moments, and you're afraid to trade them for big pieces. So they're running themselves in between being a small market franchise on the margins and this big market team that's going to go out and pay, big time talent like Garrett Cole a couple years ago. What has been the big ad since Garrett Cole? What has been the special move besides the Juan Soto trade that this Yankees team has made to continue to put themselves in better situations? Those questions all need to be answered. Now, again, the Yankees still have a great chance to go out and compete for the AL East. And let's flip over to the Mets, because we got to come here to talk about Juan Soto being a New York Met, right, Drew? The Mets are still in a fantastic division here. The Phillies aren't going away. The Atlanta Braves aren't going away. This doesn't lock the Mets in to even be the best team in the division. I'm sure when the odds come out, if they're not out already, the Mets will be the favorite because it's going to be the hot ticket on the market on DraftKings and FanDuel. Everyone's going to want to bet the Mets to win this. They're going to be, the top 2 or 3 favorite to win the World Series. All these things are going to be true. That doesn't mean anything until the ball starts hitting the bat of Juan Soto.
The Mets need an ace type pitcher. They need to go out and sign Corbin Burns. That's their number one need. And I understand, signing guys, their pitching guru and David Stearns brought all his wisdom from Milwaukee over, and you saw it clearly evident in Luis Severino and Quintana and Minaya. Those guys all, didn't have expectations for really any of them going into the year. You kind of were all just hoping for the best, and they all gave you really, really good years from the 3 of them. So, I feel like they can turn Clay Holmes into a decent starting pitcher. Frankie Montas might be able to actually reach his potential with the Mets, but I feel like you need a little more certainty at the top of the rotation. So I feel like that's going to be the next thing for the Mets, is to go out and get Corbin Burns or Max Fried, someone of that ilk, to be the guy at the top of the rotation. You can have those other guys in your 3, 4, 5 that you use your projects that you can kind of build up and teach up and coach up.
Right. And those pieces are necessary. That extra, or not extra, that lead pitcher.
Now that you sign Juan Soto, you can't stop.
You can't stop now, right? If you do that and you're done,
it's pointless. Pointless to signing Juan Soto if Clay Holmes is going to be your biggest starting pitching acquisition of the winter. If that's it, then then Steve Cohen's out of his he should be in the loony bin with Hal Steinbrenner.
Yeah,
You know?
that's buying the $500 dinner on the date and then not going up for the drink when she invites you up to the apartment. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not going all the way. When you go for Soto and you pay that money and you do what you got to do, you got to keep pushing the limit a little bit here. And obviously, the critics and the naysayers will say, "Oh, they're going to be screwed down the road. They're going to be, in really difficult cap standings when it comes to 8 years from now, 10 years from now, 12 years from now." That's fine. Guess what? Right here, right now, you have on your roster Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, still Brandon Nimmo. You have a Mark Vientos who absolutely was a monster for every moment once he finally got the third base job. You have a great catching prospect in Francisco Alvarez, and this team just added a top 3 bat in the game, right? Now, if Kodai Senga can be a number 2 starter, Drew, if he can be a legitimate number 2 starter and you add one more piece like a Corbin Burns or a Max Fried, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say is still possible here for Steve Cohen and the New York Mets. It has to be, right? They're not done yet. They can't be done yet. And the Clay Holmes thing is nice, whether he becomes a starter or a middle inning guy, whatever it is. He's a good pitcher. He fell out of the graces of Yankee fans because he couldn't close. He's a very good pitcher. As soon as he went back to the middle innings,
That's where he had one of the best closers in baseball.
and they have that already. So the Mets are not done. Now, in realistic terms, Drew, is Pete Alonso and the Mets, is that officially done kaputs? Do you think there's any chance of Pete Alonso coming back to the Queens?
Now that Juan Soto signed the deal that he signed, I think it's very slim chance. I think it's, again, especially considering the Yankees have to make some kind of counter move here, and they now will go and overpay for Pete. That's my prediction is they'll absolutely go out and overpay for Pete Alonso, and stick him at first base since they have this gaping hole at first base right now. So, be weird. It's gonna be really weird, to say the least.
Yeah, and then the Mets have to figure out their first base spot, right? Like
You could put Vientos over at third base, and then you have Beatty, you have Mauricio, you have a couple candidates that you can fill in house, or you can take. I'm sure there's a veteran, someone you can maybe get like Tyro Estrada or somebody like that to fill in at third base. While you can definitely see if what you have in Beatty is real, and if not, I'm sure they'll go out and sign somebody else because the Mets Steve Cohen actually gives a shit and will try to improve the team. He's improved it time and time again. Even when he makes mistakes, Steve Cohen, when he signed Verlander and Scherzer, and it wasn't working out, and he said, I'm going to eat this money so I can go get prospects, and then I can get this money off the books for the next year. I'm not relying on 2 40-year-old pitchers. And you got Acuna who looks fantastic. He could play third base next year, potentially. So, it says it right there. Steve Cohen willing to do what it takes, even when he made the wrong move. He opened up his wallet again and doubled down and said, "Okay, we made a mistake, but I have the financial wherewithal, and I have the situation where I can spend us out of these mistakes." And that's how the Yankees used to operate. A bad contract didn't used to sink the Yankees, and now apparently it's going to. So
here's another question for you, Drew. Now that Juan Soto is officially a Met, I want to raise the question to you. Where do they rank Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor amongst duos in the league now? Because it was pretty clear last year, Judge and Soto were the best duo, not just of the year, but of like the decade, right? Like they were playing that good. The number 1 OPS and the number 2 OPS until Shohei went on another level and jumped him. It was just 1 and 3 instead. Is Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto the second best duo in baseball? Maybe the first? Like where do they rank? The only ones I'm thinking of now are Shohei and Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman, whoever you want to go with. Where do they rank as far as duos in this league?
Yeah, I'd say it's comfortably number 2. Shohei Ohtani still, especially now that he's going to pitch.
Yeah, crazy.
If he comes back and he's a Cy Young contender pitcher, while also, he's not going to steal 50 bags again like he did this year. That's just not going to happen as he's going to be pitched. But I still wouldn't put it past him to hit 40 home runs again and then throw like a sub 3 ERA like 150 strikeouts or something like that. So it's definitely still Ohtani and Betts, because Mookie Betts, even in the World Series, proved that he's still an absolute superstar that can play the infield and the outfield. So, just the versatility on those two would make me think that they're still the best duo. But in a very close second, if Ohtani is not able to pitch, or if Mookie Betts for some reason falls off, it's Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor for sure.
And who else is in the running? Do you put like a Harper, Trey Turner nearby? Do you put an Acuna, a healthy Acuna, with fill in your next Braves best player? Like, who else is even close? Is this like the most exciting duo that we got now besides what you got in LA?
Even if the Yankees signed Pete Alonso, like Judge and Alonso is like fifth on that list. I would put them underneath Harper and Turner. I put them underneath Acuna and Ozuna, if that's who you want to be, or Olsen.
Right,
Matt Olsen. Put them underneath that too. So, jeez.
Yeah, it's out of control, man. And you know what? I'm glad that it happened now. We also haven't spoken about, and I do want to get into this, so it's a perfect time. I want to get into the lead up to this entire thing, because it reminds us every time a big time free agent is out and about and playing the market and doing what they do, that these reports leading up are out of control. And I don't know if it's Boris getting involved with a bunch of reporters and, Soto's camp or whatever it may be, or other teams just trying to play, a little game of chess to get things to where they want it to be. But the amount of Red Sox things that were coming out, the Yankee stuff that was coming out, the occasional Dodgers thing, the Mets stuff. Oh, the Phillies are in play. The Blue Jays are actually right there. There was so much BS leading up to this. I'm so thrilled that it's over, for starters. But what were you looking at leading up to this, Drew? What did you even try to latch onto when you were seeing the multitude of crazy reports that were coming out over the last couple of weeks?
Stuff going to like the Blue Jays. I never believed like Ohtani was seriously considering like the Blue Jays last year. Like the Blue Jays have money, but like, why would you want to go to Canada? And if you live in Los Angeles or New York City, like, why would you want to go live in Toronto of all places? I mean, like, you have billions of dollars, or like, $700 million. Anywhere you live is going to be nice, but like, they have milk in a bag in Canada. That's how they drink their milk, out of a bag. Okay, like
Canada catching strays right now.
It's just he was never going to Canada. Boston, while they do have a good farm system, they're just not ready to contend. And I feel like winning and having ownerships back in Fenway ownership group for sure. They just like after they won in like 2018, they just said we can't afford Mookie Betts anymore, and you trade literally the second best player in all of baseball at the time to the Dodgers, and like for freaking Alex Verdugo, and that was never, none of that. It was always going to be either the Yankees, the Mets, and I was always, you have to be fearful of the Dodgers because the Dodgers are the Yankees at this point. But they went out, and I think when you saw that they signed Michael Conforto earlier this evening, that kind of just signified that they kind of bowed out, and it was always going to be between the Yankees and the Mets. I think.
I know
those are the real two people. And again, I always thought that if the money was close, and it was indeed close, that he would pick to stay with the Yankees. But clearly, he didn't want to be here. Something about Hal Steinbrenner did not rub him the right way. There's commitment to adding to pieces around him. Just who knows? And I'm sure we'll get a million more stories about it going forward, but just something, it just didn't work out.
And it reminds me a ton of the Kawhi Leonard summer, right? When Kawhi Leonard won the title in Toronto and he's a free agent, and it's like, all right, is he going to go back to Toronto? Is he going to go to LA? He's a California dude. Is he going to join LeBron and the Lakers? Like, that feels pretty weird. The Clippers are kind of hanging around, and there was all these reports, and I'm just reading them, and people are tweeting about them and texting me them. And I'm like, this is all BS. Kawhi Leonard is clearly a camp that doesn't let anything out. So if you hear anything, it's not true. If you have something in your gut that might be right, good for you. right? Like I think I had in my gut he was going to be a Clipper. I didn't know anything, obviously. I was taking a good guess, and I got it right. This Mets thing was the same exact stuff. You're seeing tweets about, yeah, my barber is the Dominican guy. He knows his cousin. Like, it's like, yo, this is crazy. This stuff is not getting leaked
Juan
out
Soto's
in
sister was
that
looking at
way.
apartments in Boston. Like, come on.
Yeah, like this
Like,
stuff is not getting leaked out in that way. Boris does this year after year after year. Like the reports, if it's not passing, it ain't passing my test. And that's a really bad, corny pun right there. But I think Jeff Passan would appreciate that. It's the same thing when the Knicks stuff is going on. Like if it's not Woj or Shams, and shout out Woj is not doing it anymore. But if it's not Shams or Woj or Ian Begley, like I don't care. It's not real. Until it becomes one of these voices that is the most trusted source in baseball that clearly is tapped in to the right folks. Like it just doesn't matter. And this was a perfect example of the noise being insane. But Drew, I know you're obviously upset that he's not a New York Yankee. Are you at least relieved that this drama is over?
I guess.
Sounds like you don't want to answer that. You want to just pass because it still hurts.
It's am I relieved that I just got like your fandom heart ripped out on like the biggest stage, and it's like I don't know, the Yankees are the equivalent of like the guy that peaked in high school that won all these high school championships and was now he's 30 something years old and he tries to hit on the cute girl at the bar and he just got hard rejected. And now the Yankees are now I don't care that it's over. I mean, you lost. So is there relief that you lost and now you have to try to figure out what comes next? I don't know. There's no relief here. There's absolutely zero quote, remember the title, zero fun, sir. Zero relief on any capacity and right now.
Well, I know for Mets fans, and I'll speak for us now, it's like it's the opposite of what you just said. It's all relief, it's all good, it's all amazing. And any type of negativity.
Like, now you're excited for what's next. Like what?
Correct. Especially since there's a real feeling of like there will be something next. Like there will be another piece that makes us excited outside of marginal moves. Because it probably will be only one more exciting piece and the rest will be marginal, right? And that's what you expect. That's probably the right move if you're going to even be able to land one of the big pieces. So for the Mets fans, it's like, anything you try to throw at us right now, any type of jab that a Yankee fan or a non-Met fan want to throw at us right now, it's bouncing off, man. It is just
Teflon.
Pew, pew, pew. Yeah, Teflon right now. Nothing you can say to us is going to hurt us right now. Oh, he's going to get hurt now. Just watch. Oh, the Mets are going to Met. The Mets and the Jets are the same.
He's slow or this, that.
Yeah. Who gives a crap? He's the 17th best on-base percentage all time. He's the 19th best OPS.
He's gonna set the baseball record for walks by the end of his career. He will set the all-time record for walks. He's gonna hit 500 home runs. Like that, you're talking inner circle Hall of Famer that just signed, and he's 26 years old. That's the part that's just like, okay, teams go out and sign 30-year-old superstars or 31-year-old superstars. After Juan Soto's been in the league since he was 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, track record,
battle
man.
tested. He's
track
been
record.
in the World Series, postseason proven. He's won a ring. He's beaten the Astros. He basically tried to carry the Yankees to beat the Dodgers. Like, there's
anything that you're trying to do to put them down is just hate. It's hate from outside the club. Stupid. It's pretty obvious at this point. So let me just do two things here. Quick housekeeping right now. Subway Sports Talk right here live on Twitter, as well as on your podcast app tomorrow, YouTube tomorrow, the whole nine. But if you're watching us live on Twitter, which shout out to everybody who is, I'm seeing over 300 folks right now in the live stream, which is a beautiful thing. Shout out to all of you guys listening right now. If you want to join in and sound off on Juan Soto, if you want to get your take off, if you're a Met fan looking to gloat, if you're a Yankee fan looking to cry, we're here for you. We've never done the live stream before, so we don't know exactly how this is going to work. But basically, if you're watching this on Twitter right now, DM Subway Sports Talk. So hit the account, DM us, and we'll send you a link, and hopefully it works to get you on in a timely manner because we want to hear from some of you guys as well. So again, if you're listening on Twitter right now, if you're watching us live, hit us up at Subway Sports Talk. drop a DM and I'll send you the link and you could jump in and sound off on Juan Soto. So go ahead and do that now. As you DM us, I will say this. Some of these stats, when you go to his baseball reference page, it's just fantastic to see. And the most beautiful thing, Drew, which you just alluded to, was that he's done it in the playoffs already. He's 25 years old, he's 26 years old now, and he's done it already. He's had a full career that a 15-year vet would dream of in 7 years. It's incredible, right? So the career numbers, some people go, you're calling this guy a generational talent? That's ridiculous. He's not generational. He bats 285. Figure out 2024 baseball, people. 285, very freaking good, especially when your on-base percentage is 421 for your career. Again, top 20 all-time on-base percentage. His OPS in his career is 953. Do you know how many people have 1,000 OPS in a given year in recent years? It's between 1 and 4. Maybe on a lucky up year, not including the shortened COVID year, maybe you get to 5. This ain't the end of the 90s. This ain't the early 2000s where 15 to 20 people have 1,000 OPS. This guy's career is 950. He's touching 1,000 almost every single year lately.
Offensive baseball is cratered in the last 5 years due to the fact that pitchers, every single team now has relievers throwing 95, just random middle relievers are throwing 95 plus out of the pen. Like it's harder than ever to hit now in baseball. And Juan Soto has excelled beyond top 5, top 3 hitter in the game. So that's what the Mets got here to solidify their offense, to pair with Lindor, pair with their good young players now. They can all take a step forward together. Because again, Juan Soto is 26 years old. 26 years old.
26. And to go on to the playoff side of things here, in 3 trips to the playoffs, Juan Soto, 281 with a 390 on base percentage and a 930 OPS. So he does it in the playoffs too. He played 12 games for the Padres in 2022. He didn't hit that great for them in the playoffs. Apparently he didn't like being there at all, which is, interesting, I guess, as well. San Diego seemed like a pretty decent place to play, but he didn't love it there, and it is what it is. He joins the New York Yankees, a bigger spotlight, a bigger moment, more weight on his shoulders because his co-star was falling short, falling on his face. And what does he do for the New York Yankees? He bats 327, 470 on base percentage, a 1.1 OPS, hits 4 home runs, and had the biggest hit of the entire postseason. This dude is battle tested. This dude is legitimate. And if he goes out there and falls on his face because he got his bag and he stops working as hard, I will be utterly shocked. You can't watch this guy get into a batter's box in game, 87 of a 162 game season and take pitches the way he does, attack the ball the way he does, and take every at bat incredibly serious the way he does, and expect him to now say, hey, I got my 15-year deal. I'm good. This guy loves to hit. He loves to compete. And he just had one of the best lineups around him. He's going to still have a really good lineup around him. And I see nothing but more success and more legendary output from Juan Soto.
Yeah, absolutely. As the Mets have a great young core now to go into the future with, and the Yankees have 33-year-old Aaron Judge, 35-year-old Giancarlo Stanton, and a bunch of question marks. I like Austin Wells. I like Anthony Volpe as much as the next Yankee fan, but those guys aren't cornerstone, best top 5 in their position. So it's really have to wonder now. They said they have no interest in bringing back Gleyber Torres. So you have a hole at second base. So you have maybe they'll be better defensively now that Aaron Judge will be in right field and
Big
they'll go
whoop.
get us. But who gives a shit? Who really gives a shit? He was such an imperfect fit on the roster, but at the same time, he was the future of the Yankees. He was the absolute future of the team, and now, man, it's bleak. It's bleak.
My God!
I don't want to overreact, but it's bleak. It's absolutely bleak for what happens next for the Yankees.
I'm trying to make sure I'm paying attention to the messages here. Again, if you want to join in the show, just DM us. Maybe even just like the message that I left there underneath this video, and If you like that, I'll send you the link. I'm also sending it to some people. But with the whole 15-year thing, Drew, what is your take on when you give out these massively long contracts rather than just obviously the big number, but these massively long contracts? We know there's an opt-out after 5 years. We know that there's going to be things that happen. I know there's not any money deferred, which is a big topic of conversation with this. But when it comes to the 10-year commitment, the 12-year commitment, the 15-year commitment, what is your thought process on that? Is it simply if you win early, it doesn't matter, the rest is history, the rest is icing on the cake? Or do you really buy into the negativity of the possibilities?
No, but I mean, but again, you're not getting a 15-year deal on a 33-year-old. You're doing a 15-year deal on a 26-year-old, someone who's going to be 26 the entire first year of the deal. So, okay, if you think a player stops being elite at age 35, so guess what? You have Juan Soto, you have elite level Juan Soto for 9 years. And that's just the cost of doing business. You get the elite 9 years of Juan Soto up front, and you deal with the 6 lesser years in the back half. And if he has to be a DH or a first baseman in 2030, whatever, you worry about that then. That's the cost. That's the cost of doing business. He's only 3 years older than Francisco Alvarez. He's 1 year older than Brett Beatty. Like, what do he's it's absolutely it's, again, said at the top part of the show, it's the biggest move in Mets history by far. The entire history of the franchise, not just the Steve Cohen era. Biggest move in the history of the franchise.
I couldn't agree more. It's one of these things where, you look at some of the other deals, right? Like, I know the A-Rod one got really wonky at the end there, but like, does a Yankee fan sit here and say, damn, we really shouldn't have given him all those years? Like, he was the catalyst in a championship, your last one.
Yeah.
If you go back to the era of the Yankees paying guys like Alex Rodriguez, you go back to the Yankees winning championships here. So, like, what is the time frame now for the New York Mets here? If the Mets don't do X in 2025, Drew, it's a disappointment. Like, what do they have to do year one now from a regular season and playoff standpoint to make this the right move, or whatever you want to call it, a payoff now type move?
I mean, they have to at least make the World Series now. Now that, again, I feel like we've had this similar conversation with the Knicks, with the Rangers, with now with the Mets, where these were these fun upstart teams. Now you have expectations. Now you've made your play, and now you have to go out and I won't say if they finish a game behind the Braves or the Phillies or something that that it's a failure in the regular season, but if they do not make the World Series this year, it'll be a disappointment, which would also be tough because you still have to deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers at the end of the day. So you can't, if you're going to lose in the NLCS to the Dodgers, that's fine. They're another super team. You have 2 super teams going up against each other. Fine at the end of the day, but you can't lose before that. You can't, you can't expect that magic that showed up there to kind of carry you. Now, you don't need Grimace anymore. Now you have your own, you actually have real vibes. You don't need make up fake vibes and fake mascots. You don't need Hawk 2 Girl to throw out first pitch anymore. You got real good vibes now. You don't need to make that shit up anymore.
Do you think this means the Mets put this stuff in the past? They put gimmicks in the past?
Oh, they should.
I already saw a Soto OMG sign, like a Soto OMG.
Mm.
Does that mean Iglesias has to be back for that to come to fruition? Like, how does that work?
I feel like I feel like you can't do that. You can't play the same bit all over again. Like, you can't have the oh my god sign again. Like, that's really, you need new bits. You have Juan Soto, that's your bit. That's the bit. You don't need a bit.
The bit is the best hitter this team has had possibly since, like, what? I don't know. Peak David Wright? Like, I don't know. 1 year of Carlos Beltran? Is it batting title Jose Reyes? Is it playoff Daniel Murphy for that 2-week stretch? Is it Keith
Mike
Hernandez?
Piazza?
Is it Mike Piazza, Darryl Strawberry? Like, is that, it's beyond all of that. It's beyond it all.
Mm-hmm. Again, inner circle, first ballot, should get 100% of the vote, Hall of Famer. That's Juan Soto right there.
Now,
There's nothing else. There's nothing else to say.
he's had a pretty historic career to this point already. Obviously, the Nationals World Series means something. He is on line to become a Hall of Famer, as you just mentioned. Is there even a world now where he's not a Hall of Famer as a Met? Like what? It would have to go horribly
He's
wrong.
15. Unless he opts out at year 5 and goes to somewhere else, no. And if he's that good, Steve Cohen won't let him leave. He will tack on whatever years and whatever, because he actually gives a shit as an owner. So, you know, he absolutely would go into the Hall of Fame as a Met. No
Yeah.
question.
I mean, it's hard to sit here and just like get ahead of ourselves when he hasn't even taken a pitch yet. And I say take a pitch. I keep saying that because I just love the way he takes a pitch. It's really a beautiful
It's
thing.
the best. It's the best.
Yeah, you're gonna miss it.
Was-
You're gonna be turning on SNY occasionally this year and go, oh God, this sucks. This sucks.
See, listen, I never hated the Mets before. I never did. It was more of I guess if you're a bully and then you bully someone enough and then they finally punch you back in the face and then you have to kind of respect them a little bit. It's kind of the situation where they are. Yeah, I kind of don't. As a Yankee fan, I never hated the Mets. Now, I don't think I can have that same. Go back and listen to any of my appearances on the podcast, me being kind of positive on the Mets or even kind of cheerleading for them a little bit. I think those days are over. I'm gonna be Alec Argento light on this podcast, and God knows we need 2 of those guys.
I wish he was here right now, honestly, because this has been a little bit, we need some true gumption on this podcast right now, for better or worse, right? Whether it's a Yankee fan who's just furious right now, a Mets fan who's running around his neighborhood naked right now, like we need some of that energy right now. And Drew, I know you're saying that, but I know you're a baseball purist at heart, and you're not going to watch a Juan Soto at bat and not get a little bit excited. You're not going to watch it and go,
it's too soon.
God.
It's too soon. Talk to me in like 2030.
And you'll be a Mets fan by then.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It might go to the Dodgers at this point, or it just might be a baseball agnostic.
My God. Going to the Dodgers is absolute worst. Let me ask you this.
That would have been the worst. That would have been worse for the game of baseball if he would have went to the Dodgers.
100%. And one more time for anybody listening on Twitter right now, if you want to join the show, like the message that I put underneath the show with the link thing, or if you're trying to get on right now, again, we haven't done the live thing yet, so I'm not sure how you as an outsider getting in with the link I sent you is even working. So hopefully some people pop up here shortly. But what would have been the outcome that pissed you off even more than the Mets? Or, if the Mets was number 1, what was the second outcome that would have bothered you most?
I think definitely the Dodgers, because then you have Ohtani, Soto, Betts, Freeman, and then God, that's just an unstoppable 1 through 4. Like it's just stupid. That's just video game type of
turn the trades off,
stuff.
And
like, it makes it not fun anymore. Type of thing.
That would have bothered you more than the Red Sox would have bothered you?
Yeah, I think so. Because the Red Sox aren't, I feel like he would have been, he would have improved the team, and they have a lot of good players, but they need a lot of help, a lot more help than the Yankees do at the moment. So, no, I do hate the Red Sox. It does bother me, but now that he's a Met, that he's immediately going to, as good as the Mets were last year, now they're even better. And the Mets are now solidified. And again, once they still have a move or 2 to make, and definitely have to fill out a little bit more of the roster and some depth moves, but they should be considered an absolute World Series favorite along with the Dodgers. And I don't know, the American League now is just straight garbage.
Especially
the Astros aren't as good as they were before. No one respects the American League Central. I don't respect the Baltimore Orioles whatsoever. So there's really the two best team in baseball. Again, if there was a gap of Juan Soto and every other player, the gap between the Mets and the Dodgers, and there's a Grand Canyon sized gap between every other team in baseball now. It's unfortunate that those two teams can't play each other in the World Series.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to write off the Phillies and Braves yet. They're still very good teams. There's a great chance that they're still right there competing at an incredibly high level. And you never know in baseball, right? Like, are the Padres going to come back even better last year? They kind of hit their stride towards the end of the year. They competed with the Dodgers as well as almost anybody. Say, and the Giants, right? They signed Willie Adames. It's not like that's like the biggest thing ever, but they're not there yet, but they're lingering at least a little bit. Now, what's going
You
to
make the
happen?
argument like the top 5 teams now in baseball are like all in the National League.
Which is wild. I mean, the
Yeah.
fact that the Yankees won the AL East with the ease that they did last year, when they had for themselves kind of a down year off expectation a little bit, it kind of tells you everything you need to know. But my next question for you, Drew, is what does Yankee Stadium look and sound like when Juan Soto makes his first return to the Bronx?
I honestly, that thought, like, I don't know.
Just sent a shiver down your spine?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. That thought didn't even cross my head of when he comes back to Yankee Stadium. I for some reason, I got transported back to 1997 where the interleague play wasn't a thing. Now, now you're going to see Juan Soto. Now that I think the Mets and the Yankees play like a true 3-game series at each place this year, so you're going to see Juan Soto for a full weekend. Oh boy. I don't think since David Ortiz got booed in like 2005 or like Dave Roberts and like those hated Red Sox, I think that's the kind of vitriol that you'll see from Yankees fans now at Juan Soto.
I can't wait for it, man.
Oh man.
I can't wait. I'm trying to think about some sort of equivalent to this of somebody leaving and going directly to a rival, right? Like, you can point to like Johnny Damon becoming a Yankee, right? But like, Johnny Damon never licked the shoes of Juan Soto from a talent perspective. Obviously, the impact on a city.
This is unprecedented.
Right, like impact on a city. Yeah, like Johnny Damon had all of that with Boston. Of course, joining the Yankees a little bit later in his career, he wasn't like the dude he was at his prime. Obviously, like Kevin Youkilis, no one gives it, no one cared. Like everyone hated Kevin Youkilis. Like it didn't even matter. Like there's not an equivalent to this that I could even think of. Like in across sports, even too, right? Like there's nothing that quite makes sense. Like, did the Packers fans feel that way about Brett Favre when he was in Minnesota? No, they had Aaron Rodgers. Like, they were fine, right? Like there's not really an idea that I can think of off the top of my head here that is equivalent to peak of their powers superstar leaving for like a crosstown rival or big time rival type team.
Nope.
It's out of control.
Nope.
Out of control.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Drew, this has been super fun. I was trying to give it a few more minutes to see if anybody was able to join in. Again, I'm going to try to get the logistics for this right to make it easier for people to join in. And I think there's a way to do that within the Twitter app, but I didn't do that correctly to set this one up. But we had some fun here. This was great. Do you have any?
Did we have fun? Did we?
I had a ton of fun. I don't know about you. I had a couple voice cracks. We had some good pot shots at the old Yankees over there. We talked about the Mets, and obviously they're not done yet. And we'll have to get on here and talk more about this from like a more fleshed out perspective. This was one of those situations where it happened. We text in our group chat. We're like, "Are we firing up the mics?" Yeah, we are. Then we get on the app here, and I go, "We should probably just go live for this, right? Like we've never done it before, but let's just do it." And here we are, over 300 people still watching right now as we speak. So shout out to y'all. Hopefully you're enjoying what you're hearing as well. And again, we'll give you like a few more minutes here if you guys want and figure out a way to get in with the link that I've been sending around, because I know, Drew, you used the link, so it's not straightforward. Yeah. Like you have to kind of like write your name in, select your microphones and your things of that nature. Yeah. So it's not like a plug and play, click and you're in type of situation. So I apologize for that. We'll try to figure that out. But all right, maybe you didn't have fun, but do you have any last words while we wait for anyone to possibly pop in?
Yeah. So I wrote. So while we were, we had a pretty good feeling that Juan Soto was going to sign this weekend. So I
Yes.
wrote a couple of things for our Substack. So right now you can tune in and read my latest post entitled "Juan Soto and the Ineptitude of Ownership." Hal Steinbrenner joins the Bob Nuttings of the world as one of the worst owners in professional sports.
Mm.
So if you thought I was angry on the podcast, and I got, I don't know, I got a lot of that anger out in the writing, so it was kind of fortuitous that I
Yeah,
was able
you
to
wrote
just
that article
publish that
before the
in real time.
to give a little inside baseball here. Nice term, but
Mm-hmm.
you wrote that before the decision was made, right? Did you
Yes,
had two different articles ready to go? Is that accurate?
I three different one if he signed with the Yankees, one that'll be posted tomorrow about him signing with the Mets, and it was the third one, which is going to go with obviously the Mets. One was just absolutely roasting Hal Steinbrenner over the coals here, which is what
Can
I did.
can you give us an insight to that article? Just give us like a little sneak peek to it.
Yeah, sure. Like I said previously, Juan Soto now just has been added to the list of superstars that just were available for money, and the Yankees seem to just be now allergic to signing good baseball players, and it's a real problem that they should really again. This is embarrassing. Absolutely, Hal Steinbrenner should be embarrassed. Brian Cashman should be embarrassed. Um, the brand of the Yankees have taken a huge hit. The allure of the pinstripes is clearly not what it used to be. But you know, money is a reason why they failed here, but there has to be something else because there was a competitive offer, and it's not just he wanted to go to the Mets. That's not. I refuse to believe that was it, and maybe that is the answer at the end of the day. That that's where he wanted to be. And if so, God bless Juan Soto, and that's what he wanted to do. Fine, but the that's not how it used to work. That's not how it used to work for the Yankees. It's not how it used to work for anything. The Yankees went out and wanted to get somebody. This is now 2 years in a row where the Yankees boasted confidence on wanting to sign a player. Last year in Yamamoto, they thought he was in the bag, and then ends up being a world champion Los Angeles Dodger. So, they tried to exude confidence that Juan Soto was going to come back and the allure of the pinstripes. And clearly, those pinstripes are not as bright anymore. So, you can read about all that on our Substack, and you can, I'll cry as I finish writing the post about the Mets signing Juan Soto. I almost threw up.
If it makes you feel better, the Yankees may have lost Juan Soto, but they do, however, receive a compensatory. I can't even say it. A compensatory fourth-round pick,
Woo!
just for the Yankees to draft another great player who's a top 100 prospect, just for him to never make it to the big leagues and never do anything of importance.
or when he does make it, they'll say, "Yeah, we don't like his jib." We'll send him up and down, and then we'll trade him away. We'll get offered a bunch of good players for him. We'll say, no, he's not good enough to play, but he's too good away. He's too good to trade away, but he's not good enough to play every day. And they'll just ruin him like they did with everybody else. So it's stuff to look forward to, man. This was a thing. This was definitely a thing.
Just think about Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Brandon Nimmo, Mark Vientos, Francisco Alvarez, maybe Ronnie Mauricio, who the Mets will, when he's healthy and ready, play and see what he can do. Maybe Brett Beatty turns it around. Maybe our guy Acuna, the Mets version of Acuna, comes to the majors next year with some energy and some experience and shows out. And we're talking about a lineup that's 1 through 9. We're talking about a pitching staff that maybe adds another piece and looks even better. And we're talking about a Mets team, Drew, that will rightfully be looked at as a true World Series contender. Not like they were 2 years ago when their big signings were Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Not like it was in years past after a Cespedes, good half of a year, and he got signed back. Not like the Mets in the early or mid late 2000s where their guys started getting hurt and all that stuff. But here we go. And now we got a guest. It worked. We got a guest. We got Shea Parking Lot right here live with us. What's up? I'm glad that the link worked, dude. How are you?
It worked. Yeah, it worked. Can you hear me all right?
We hear you just fine, dude.
Oh,
Welcome to Subway Sports Talk, and the show goes on.
Appreciate
How the
it,
hell are you feeling now?
I'm doing all right. I mean, if I was like 10 or 15 years younger, I'd probably be like running around in the streets and everything else like that. But I think being over 40 or whatever, I think I'm kind of relieved and tired about the whole thing. But I guess excited of course. But after last season, you see how long the season is and how hard it is to win. It's like this is just the stepping stone. So let's. And it's the Mets, so let's just make sure that we remain positive, but not too overly excited. I would say just because we have a long way to go, and like my buddy Mike says, we got a lot more work to do. So,
well, I assume you're referring to Mike from Brooklyn, our guy Mike Urin, who's he was just DMing me as well. He wanted to come on, but he's got a 4:30 wake up, so he's not going to make it here. He was one of the Mets fans who was a little bit like those Yankee mental gymnastics fellas, saying we don't need Juan Soto. So I want to ask you, and please fully introduce yourself and on your account and stuff at Shea Parking Lot when you go into it. But what was your journey here? Like, were you pro Soto? Did you think this was real from the get-go? Did you think this was going to happen? And how did you fight Mike on his takes?
Yeah, so Shea Parking Lot. I mean, I've been Mets Twitter for a long time. I live in Tucson, Arizona, but I'm from New Jersey. But just really, really involved diehard Mets fan since I was, really little, so 40 years. I knew we were going to get Soto the whole time. I mean, them constantly talking about Cohen's money and Juan Soto's, main drive is to make as much money as possible. So I kind of knew this was going to happen. I thought about what other pieces are we going to do, because this season was crazy. I actually was in Milwaukee for Alonso's home run for that series. And just the mental drain of the playoffs, just watching every night and being so close, because we haven't had much, especially for somebody in their 40s and stuff. It's been hit or miss every 15 years, it seems like, almost. So you really just want to try to push. And Mike's a good guy.
He's the best.
I'm very friendly with him and everything, and I get where he's coming from. He's a realist. And I try not to be a pessimist. I mean, I'm positive as much as I can. But like I said, we signed Soto today. Let's make sure that we get what we want from him and what we want from everybody else. So,
yeah, and I'm glad that you were one of these Mets fans who had confidence in this happening. I remember when I worked with Al Cintron, one of our buddies as well, on Mets Twitter and obviously on the Fan. I was going into my shift at the Fan like early November, like right after the World Series, just thinking to myself, like, Yankee fans are going to be gung-ho, ready to re-sign Juan Soto. He just did what he did in the playoffs. What a beautiful thing for them. And I'm like, obviously, like, the Yankees are going to go all balls to the wall to get this guy. And the first like 5 callers I hear from the Fan, oh, you know what, though? The defense, the base running, I'd rather sign 5 other guys instead of him. And I was blown away. I was blown away. And then Al comes in a few hours later to host his show and comes out hot right off the jump. The Mets are signing Juan Soto. It started back in June when he played at Citi Field. He heard the OMG. He heard the energy in that stadium. He felt a different vibe from the Mets than the boring pinstripe Yankees, the corporate Yankees, as he calls them. And I was like taken aback as I'm producing for Al. I'm like, damn, wait, is this like a thing right now? I'm like, I was going into this offseason like, all right, 70% Yankees, maybe 20% Mets, the rest split between everybody else. And very quickly over the next couple of weeks, that inched to 50-50 and then past the 50-50 threshold. And all of a sudden I'm like, damn, I'm feeling like 65% here or something like that. And now here we are. Winter meetings start tomorrow? And Juan Soto's a freaking New York Met. Drew, and we'll come back to you in a second. But Drew, what was your arc on percentages there to share with our audience here?
Man, again, like I was saying, it was always between the Mets and the Yankees for me. I always thought that the Yankees, if they were close, that would be them. So I was thinking 70-30 Yankees, even when you heard the news that the Yankees upped their offer over $700 million, you think, okay, Hal's going step for step with Steve Cohen. Juan Soto knows the team. He knows what they're about. He loves playing with Aaron Judge. He had the best year of his career back with him. It was getting up to 80, 90%. As I was thinking that he was coming back, and it's wrong. It's flat out wrong.
I was on mute there. And now Shea Parking Lot, what do you think is coming next? Like, what do you think is remaining for this team? Is there still a marquee Corbin Burns, Max Fried out there for this Mets team? Or do you think from here on out, it's marginal and it's like decent pieces that aren't to get too excited about?
Yeah, so real quick, I'm actually a regular on Al's show. I call in Positive Jeff. I probably
Oh,
spoke
right.
to you
Positive.
before.
We have spoken before. I wasn't putting two and two.
Oh, no worries, no worries. And then probably see my game room in the background. I collect a whole bunch of old stuff and stuff like that. But
Love it.
yeah, you know what? I spoke to Al about this, where I said that I think that Stearns is just going to be a pitching guru. I don't think we're ever gonna. I think we've gotten so burned in the past with signing big name starting pitching, with the whole Scherzer and Verlander thing. I think Stearns has sold Cohen on this. Let's sign guys to like 1 or 2 year deals, and just try to get as much as we can out of them in those 1 and 2 years. And if they want to come back, then we offer them the kind of like the like what they offer Manaea. And I guess now I think we're going to go after Manaea. And I think we may be able to bring him back because we signed Montaz. I hate to say it, but I think Yankees are probably going to go crazy for Pete now. I think with the money that Pete really wanted, I think the Yankees are going to pay that now because of what Soto got. It's going to bump everybody up. I hope Pete wants to come back and join what's going on here, but I think this was the perfect thing for Pete to get any money from anybody at this point. But so I think it's going to be Manaea. I think we may pick up like a John Means or maybe a Bueller. I mean, that's a possibility. He's not going to get crazy money like he should have back then when he was actually pitching well. So I think Stearns is just going to pick up pitching projects, and we're just going to reap the benefits, hopefully like we did last year. So.
And then with Pete Alonso, if he does happen to join the Yankees, we can look forward to FAN callers going to call and complain about his defense now, which will be super exciting for Mets fans to say, hey, listen, you wanted this guy to make up for Juan Soto's bat. Now you get to watch him play first base, which I think is overblown. I think he's better at first than he gets credit for. He gets a lot of crap for it from time to time. And I think on the front and Positive, Jeff, you're positive, and you're still kind of like holding back on it a little bit about the Burns and the Frieds of it all. And I think you're probably going to be right at the end of the day. I think there's a chance for one more exciting prospect, but I want your opinion on Clay Holmes really quick. Clay Holmes signed apparently as a starter. And then after Jeff goes, Drew, watching him over the years, I want you to jump in. Is the Clay Holmes starter thing going to be legit, you think? Or you think he ends up back in the middle innings?
Yeah, no. I think they're probably going to give him a short leash. They'll probably start him as a starter. Maybe he'll go probably day 3 against the Astros and stuff, and then hopefully he'll be successful, but I don't see it happening long term. I think he's always been bred as a reliever, and I think he'd be the perfect setup guy for Diaz, and then probably step in for Diaz if he falls off the horse again. So
there's been a real big shift in baseball, I think, in the last few years, where you have guys like Seth Lugo, famous Met Seth Lugo, who was a reliever, and they turned him into a starting pitcher. You have Hicks out in San Francisco, who was a fireball reliever for the Cardinals, and the Giants turned him into a starter. So Clay Holmes has 4 pretty good pitches. The Yankees really simplified it down to him when they got him. His said you're going to throw your sinker and have your fastball, but he's got a good curve, he's got a good slider. So if the Mets can coach him up on those 2 pitches and he can be a 4-pitch guy, as long as I feel like you can't expect anything more than like 115, 120 innings out of him next year, whether it's part of being a starter and then putting him in the bullpen towards the end of the year. I I think it's all about durability for Clay Holmes, but he definitely has the pitches to be able to succeed as a starter. It's not a situation where they're going to have to reinvent something. He's already has 4 good pitches that the kind of Yankees simplified down for him. So I would be cautiously optimistic about Clay Holmes. I didn't enjoy the end of his experience, but when Clay Holmes was on, he was as dominant as a non-Mariano Rivera closer as the Yankees have had. So, I don't want to say best of luck to him. Fuck the Mets. I can't be happy at this moment. But I would be a little more optimistic about him as a starter than a reliever at this point.
Can I just chime in? So the Dodgers are pretty stacked. I mean, they have 9 starting pitchers. So, do you think the Mets follow suit and just start? I mean, after last year, I feel like we need to have so many different options. We can't rely on the same 5 and 6 continuously throughout the season.
Yeah, and the Dodgers have proven that it's more about the quality of innings than the actual amount of innings. So they have 9 guys now. 7 of them all have workload or injury concerns, and they're definitely going to go sign Sasaki. That's kind of a foregone conclusion. Like the Mets and Yankees aren't getting him, or nobody else. He's going to be a Dodger, so they'll have 10 starters, and it's all about quality of innings at this point. I feel like every single year, teams replicate what World Series winners do, and that's what the Dodgers do. They say, okay, we're going to get 130 innings, great innings out of this guy. It doesn't have to be 180 innings anymore. There's no such thing as a innings eater according to the Dodgers. It's just throw as hard as you can, the best pitch that you can for as long as you can, and if not, we have 9 other guys waiting in the wings. So I feel like the Mets can. I feel like they're going to try and do that now too, because Montas definitely fits that bill. Clay Holmes fits that bill. David Peterson, who Stearns has coached up incredibly. He was one of the worst starters in baseball in 2023. 2024, huge step forward. So you have to be pretty optimistic about what David Stearns bringing that Milwaukee Magic to the Mets and their whole pitching development going forward.
That'll just be the interesting thing. Like, what does the staff look like? You're seeing the graphics. It's like Senga and Clay Holmes and Peterson, and if Manaea is back, and we know Sevy's not coming back. Who are the marginal pieces that come from this offseason that the Mets are able to land, right? There's so many guys out there that you hear the names. I know Nathan Eovaldi got brought up on Twitter a little bit that he was of interest to the New York Mets now. And end of the day, we're going to just be all over Mets Twitter waiting for those words to drop, but no words bigger than Juan Soto deciding to become a New York Met. Now, I would love to keep talking forever and ever, but unfortunately, we're not on the Arizona time zone here, Jeff. We're here in New York.
That came in handy tonight, that's for sure.
Damn sure did. But unfortunately, I looked down at my clock, and it's well after midnight now here in New York. So I don't know. Let's do some last words here. We'll round up. We'll give people last chance if they want to jump in. Round up, last words. Jeff, we'll start with you. Your overarching thoughts now that Juan Soto is officially a Met and this saga is over and ended in our favor, not Drew's favor.
It ain't my money. That's the way I feel. It's great. Like let him succeed. Let him become a Met legend. Even if we win one in these next 15 years, I mean, I'd be happy at this point. I mean, just bring us to the promised land, get the other pieces that we need, or just ride this whole Stearns way of doing things, just to get us there. That's big. But to the young fans, enjoy him. He's gonna become your favorite player. He's gonna become your idol going forward, and let's hope that he just brings success. That's really what it is.
Drew, what do you got? And feel free to go negative on the Yankees if you want.
Well, I've gone negative so much this entire hour plus. So I'll just say is I'm glad I didn't buy a Juan Soto baseball or memorabilia. I was so tempted to last year. I was like, he's so great.
And you bought the World Series.
I want a jersey. I want to get a baseball. I want to buy a bobblehead. I want to do something. I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad I said, wait, just let him sign the deal, and then I'll splurge when he does. And some people are saying, the trade was kind of worth it to the Yankees because it made them relevant for a year,
Yeah.
which I'd say, I guess. I mean, they were relevant. They made it to the World Series. Was the trade. They didn't win the World Series, but that's still farther than they've gotten in 15 years. So hope you enjoy the relevancy, Yankees, for a year, because shit's bleak, man. Yankees fans and Yankee ownership and everyone in that organization needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror and figure out where to go from here, because I'm kind of at a loss of what exactly you need to do next.
Well, thankfully, nothing says inspiration like Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman, and Aaron Boone. The trifecta, the triple threat, right? Oh, my God. And you know what? It brings me back to David Stearns here, because Uncle Steve obviously gets a ton of the credit. It's all been about Steve Cohen going on these trips to California or wherever they went to see Juan Soto, to the blank checks and all this stuff. But now we see a smaller market GM who's worked wonders, who's built up a resume that's given him so much respect across the league, all of a sudden be given the blank checkbook. So David Stearns, the pressure is now on. He is now being tasked with not only helping Steve land the right big talent, which Juan Soto is an easy choice to do so, but he's now being tasked with finding the right complementary talent to add to the obvious one. It's not hard to say you should go sign Juan Soto, right? We always joke about Joe Shane's kid telling Joe Shane, the Giants should go get Jaden Daniels, right? We're like, oh, Joe Shane's kid, he should be the GM. Ha, 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 ha. Right? That was a good call by him. Well, it was a good call by every single person in the world who said you should try to sign Juan Soto if you have the chance. So if you didn't say that, shame on you. But most of us did. They did that. Now what? So the spotlight moves from Steve Cohen to David Stearns. Obviously, he deserves some sort of credit for the whole Soto of it all, even though 99% is for Steve Cohen. And frankly, the energy of Francisco Lindor and this Mets season that just took place, it almost feels, and I hate to say this because it's not a good comparison, the Brooklyn Nets being a competent team, looking like a well-run team, and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving saying, you know what, we'll choose Brooklyn. Obviously, that didn't go very well, so we're not going to continue that comparison. However, David Stearns is now responsible to make the rest of this thing go in the right direction, the rest of the complementary pieces to be right. Because there is still a world where Juan Soto comes out and bats 300, 420 on base, 1,000 OPS, and this team is not good enough, right? So we're celebrating today. We're excited as Mets fans. We are thrilled to have a bona fide superstar on this roster. However, it's not done. In fact, it hasn't started. This is the beginning of the journey. The 5-year chapter for Steve Cohen's first years here is now moved on to a new light. It is time to put not just the money where the mouth is, but the baseball where it needs to be. Over the fence, down the strike zone, getting people out, the whole nine. This stuff has to take place now. It's been a fun, weird roller coaster of a couple months talking about this possibility. Well, now it's here. So now we look forward. And every year I always make fun of baseball fans. Oh, it's pitchers and catchers. Pitchers and catchers. Here we are. It's time. And I'm like, all right, guys, it's pitchers and catchers. We still got a couple weeks to go. It's like, relax, okay? It's still basketball season. Still whatever. Now I'm excited. When it's pitchers and catchers, I'm ready to roll. I can't wait to see who the rest of the pitchers will be. I can't wait to see how this lineup's going to shape out. And I can't wait to see Juan Soto in Queens playing for the New York Mets. So that's all I got. I think that's all we have here on Subway Sports Talk. An hour and a half show, live on Twitter. Our first time going live. Jeff at Shea Parking Lot. Thank you for joining in. You might be the only person to figure out the link. How was it, the link? Did you have to do a bunch of stuff?
No.
You have to download?
No. Just downloaded the app and then...
you got to download an app. All right. I figured.
Yeah. And then it just asked me if I wanted to copy your link, and I said yes, and it got me in.
There you go. Boom. All right. It wasn't too bad then. You had to download an app. That's not ideal. I'm going to try to figure that out to make it a little bit easier for people in the future. But, Jeff, now you got the app. Now, next time we're talking Mets, I'll shoot you a DM where you can jump on again. Happy to have you. Thank you for jumping in. And for Andrew Calagna, thanks for spending an hour and a half with me here. Thank you for writing your articles at Subway Sports or subwaysportstalk.substack.com. You can check those out there. Follow us on Twitter if you're watching this video, which as I'm closing out, I'm sure we're over 400 people watching right now. So shout out to y'all. If you don't follow us, hit us with the follow right here at Subway Sports Talk. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Shout out to Juan Soto. Shout out to Uncle Steve. The Mets will be incredibly exciting to watch, and I know we all can't wait to do so. So signing off for Subway Sports Talk. Thank you to Jeff. Thank you to Drew. We will talk to you in a day or two to probably talk about this again, as well about the Knicks and the NFL and all the other fun, exciting stuff in the world of sports. So signing off. Thank y'all for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
Yeah.